Hello, Charlie TCG here. Welcome back to Looking Ahead, the series where I break down and analyze the meta, what's happening in Japan, and how that'll impact Taiwan. Today, we are talking about the Pokemon trading card game, and it's about to change forever. We have post-rotation hitting us in Japan in 2 weeks' time, and next week, we have the full set release. And on Friday, we had a ton of brand new cards. So we're going to talk about some of these new cards that generally could be game-changing and will change how we are going to construct our decks moving forward in the post-rotation. We're going to look, we had a mammoth of results happening in the City League Championships over in Japan, over 1,000 results. So I'm going to break down exactly what that means to it. We're only having one more weekend in this format, which is honestly incredible to think. It's also quite sad to say we are going to say goodbye to some amazing cards like new VMAX, and of course, some people are going to be a bit upset about it, Battle VIP Pass. So without further ado, let's jump into exactly what are some of these brand new cards. So we've got quite a few EXs, and honestly, some of them are all right. We have Gengar EX with a interesting enough ability, which is pretty much whenever your opponent attaches energy from a hand to one of their Pokemon, put 2 damage counters on it. With so many ways to manipulate energies for them to not go from your hand, the only one that really would affect is stuff like Xianpao and Baxcalibur style decks. But honestly, this is an okay ability. Incineroar, I think, is really nice for the ability. Attacks from this Pokemon cost a colorless less for each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. They have 4 bench Pokemon. You're only attacking for fire energy, 240 damage, and it is burned. We haven't seen it burned in a very long time with a special condition. Honestly, this is pretty nice, especially if you power it with Magma Basement. This can be easily powered up as early as turn 2. Very aggressive in the likes of Arvin. This is generally a decent sort of like rogue-ish style deck, which could see some play, especially from its HP. We also have Sizzle EX, which just get revealed this past weekend. Honestly, I'm a big fan of it, especially as a tech card in Golden Go. The first attack is alright, 70 damage and 50 less from the opponent's next attacks next turn, but the other attack is basically a return of Ice Rider Calyrex, 240 damage if you discard 2 metal energies attached to this Pokemon. Now, granted, yes, metal don't have the best energy acceleration to attach multiple times again and again and again, but potentially in Golden Go, this is really, really powerful. It's equivalent of you discarding 5 energies in Golden Go, but only need 2 on a Sizzle. If you already run the Sizzle line already, and this Cypher, this generally could be a nice inclusion. I generally think it's quite nice. It could be or interesting text. So nothing absolutely groundbreaking, apart from the EXs we showcased a couple weeks ago. And then we have the Rickfrag EX, which prevents all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's basic Pokemon EX. Now, this is really nice here, but all of these other EXs I've seen are stage 1s and stage 2s. Gardevoir is very powerful. It stops obviously the likes of Xianpao and other Pokemon like that, and definitely the likes of like some Paradox Pokemon and all of that sort of. But honestly, it's okay. If it was to prevent all damage from EXs, that'd be pretty decent. And its attack 160 damage and 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Pretty decent overall. I like it because it's dark type, but honestly, there isn't a ton of stuff really to work around it. Yes, it does have dark patch, so it easily works around that, but its ability is very easy to get around with it. Whereas lots of Pokemon, either basic Pokemon or higher evolved Pokemon, not really a ton of basic EXs are going to be attacking. So honestly, it's an interesting ability, but we've got to really see how it's going to plan out in the Pokemon trading card game. And the rest of it, the last EX I want to talk about is Trio EX. It's just an interesting one for the ability. Discard up to 3 energies from your hand. It has 6 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon for each energy you discard. 180 snipe is pretty decent, especially about it, but you do need 3 energy cards. But let's talk about more ace specs. We've got 3 new revealed. Drums of Awakening, which is pretty decent. Draw a card for each ancient Pokemon you have in play. You can draw a maximum of 6 or a minimum of 0. It's okay, but in the likes of Prime Catcher, you're going to be playing that one. But Reboot Pod is really good for future Pokemon. Attach a basic energy from your discard pile to each of your future Pokemon in play. Now, this can be very, very powerful. You can attach 1 energy or you can attach 6. And we've seen the likes of Sada with Energy Switch in the likes of ancient decks, which honestly is how the deck is really thriving. So Reboot Pod could be absolutely incredible in future Pokemon. We needed that energy acceleration, and this is exactly what this card is. We also have that new Miraidon, which I'm going to talk about very, very soon as well. So honestly, future Pokemon are starting to become a lot more playable with really, really good cards. And Hero's Cape is a really interesting card. Just gives your Pokemon additional 100 HP. This is pretty good overall. You might play it in likes of Gardevoir or with having to do more damage to your Scream Tails and your Drifloon. But honestly, like I said, with the amount of Prime Catch there is going to be around there, you're going to be playing that one. Reboot Pod generally might have the exception to be played in these future Paradox Pokemon decks, just because of how powerful it is for energy acceleration, especially in the early game. And finishing up looking at some new cards, you have for Alligator, which is pretty decent, but because if you think about it, we still have Iridus, who will work, but put 5 damage counters on your Pokemon. If you do the attacks from this Pokemon to 120 more damage, so basically doing 280 is really, really powerful for 2 water energies. You can quickly energy accelerate it. We do have Palkia, we do have Iridus, so it could work, but basically down to 120 HP. is okay, but again, you are hitting for 280, which is very, very powerful. Relic Camp makes you use any of your previous evolution sort of attacks, which is really, really powerful. This will see some play. We've seen Shiny Celebi when that got played. We saw Memory Charm get played. So this will see some play, but right now, nothing is really screaming to me about why this powerful good card. Definitely something to really keep an eye on. Roaring Moon, I love. 70 plus 10 for each ancient card you have in your discard pile. I really like these sort of attacks will do more damage for the amount of cards you may play around it. This isn't going to be a tech in your Roaring Moon deck, because the only ancient cards you might have will be like the Ancient Booster Capture, Sada, and also like some Roaring Moon. But this can be really good in decks like the Great Tusk, which discards some cards. You play the supporter cards, you play some of the item cards. There are so many cards around which you can play around this one. So you can ramp up to do, if you've got 10 of these in discard pile, doing 170 damage is still very, very powerful. Dark Patch can end accelerate very, very quickly. We don't have the likes of Battle Compressor at all yet, but things like Swakabilly, think about Research, think about so many good draw factors in this deck. You could easily ramp up the damage very, very early on, but you are going to be pretty much one-shotting near the late game, but two-shotting majority of the time. Now talking about Smaragd, which honestly is making me think that Future could see some acceleration. And this is really, really powerful. 40 damage, and search your deck for 2 basic energy cards and attach them to your Future Pokemon any way you like. Energy acceleration from the deck early game is very, very powerful. Let's not forget we have the Future Energy Capsule, which does the attack with initial 20 more damage. And we have Iron Crown, which has additional more damage as well. You have 2 Iron Crowns in there, plus the Talk attachment. You're doing 100 damage for 1 energy. Plus energy acceleration. Early game, this is incredible. Iron Hands can be powered up very, very early on, and it can not really rely on like an energy generator and the A-Spec. This Miraidon can absolutely power through you, especially in the early game to get set up. Now, if we go to a slower format, I think this card will be very, very strong. A lot of people are thinking the future Pokemon are very much like the Team Plasma, like TDK. This Miraidon is basically like the new Thunderous. I think it's very, very good. No weakness, no resistance. It does have a high retreat cost, but if you attach the giving it a free retreat cost and do 20 more damage, this card here is very, very strong. And the second attack isn't too bad as well. 180 with a tool card, and it can do additional more damage. Get these big one-hit KOs on big basic EXs with as many Iron Crowns in there. This card here will see play, especially in the future decks. And rounding up with some of the trainer cards here, we see some really good ones. Emergency Board giving the retreat cost of the attack 1 colorless less, and if it has 30 HP or less remaining, it has no retreat cost. This is really good, especially if all these one sort of retreat costs or cat factors. This can be very, very powerful. We're giving it loads of Pokemon free retreat, really, really powerful. But we do have the likes of Beach Court in there. This could be a good tool card inclusion. Hand Trimmer is very, very good. Control has become a lot better. Hand Trimmer pretty much makes you discard all the cards, both of you, until you have 5 cards in the hand. This is really, really powerful. A lot of people are thinking we could finally use Among Us when it's discard from a hand. Among Us, sorry, you can discard your opponent's hand completely. So it is a decent sort of trainer card as well. We'll see some play in Control, really, especially in the early game as well. Eerie as well is also very, very good, especially against these control archetypes. Your opponent reveals their hand and choose 2 item cards to discard them. This is really helpful, especially if you play this as your first supporter turn, if your opponent is like withholding some of the cards, hiding like likes of Rare Candy, Electric Generators, Ultra Ball, and Nest Ball, all these really good and powerful item cards. Heck, even the likes of Energy, the end. I'm generally blanking on it one, you know what I mean, like the energy capsule. Getting rid of those sort of cards here is super, super powerful. I generally think this will see a ton of play. Delivery Box, I also really like, especially in the early game as well, when you can't play a supporter card. Search your deck for 2 item cards, reveal them, put them into your deck. Sorry, shuffle your deck, put them into your hand, your turn ends. This is really, really good. Just getting them into your hands immediately. This is very, very powerful, especially in the early game. But yeah, a ton of brand new exciting cards as well. There were, or even some more cards as well, like the Metagross, which can do a lot more damage, but the Metan can let you search for those energies. It's an incredibly exciting deck. I feel like the Scarlet and Violet era is becoming to be honestly one of my favorites in a long time. A lot of it is reminiscing of the Black and White era, which is the format which I absolutely love, and you guys know about it. But this here is giving me so much more love and hope for the game. We are seeing these more exciting stuff. Yes, we're seeing a lot of support for big basics, but we are seeing some really cool, unique sort of stage 2 sort of archetypes like Gardevoir and Charizard really like shone to light and actually showcase that they can still keep hold in these sort of big powerful ones. Now, like I said, there was a ton of City League Championships over in Japan. You can see over 1,376 results for the top 16. That is a ton. I remember looking this morning and going, oh my word, there is a lot to cover about this one. And a ton of new archetypes as well to kind of go around it. But to give you sort of the rundown as well, Charizard and Giratina are still one of the best archetypes right now. They are so strong in this Paradox format. Charizard here didn't really gain any sort of cards except like the Devolution, sort of TM, but honestly, it became so strong, especially with the limited amount of power to peak. And Giratina is strong enough for it as well, but it's a really good matchup overall. Giratina, again, didn't really gain too many cards, but a lot of people are testing out some cards going into post rotation, testing out having Dittos in that one, even having like the likes of Iron Hands or others who are attacking like Roy Moon, having these other sort of secondary attackers which can deal with a huge amount of damage capability, which is what I really like about with Giratina. We're seeing Lost Box as well, but primarily the Paradox build, the one that got second one in Kyoto, the one that is focusing around Roy Moon and Iron Hands, is very, very powerful. A much stronger sort of trade-off for the likes of Raikou and Dragonite. Yes, we are still seeing Dragonite and Raikou still have some good success. Raikou is a really good third attacker in these sort of Roy Moon sort of archetypes as well. But honestly, it's still very, very powerful. Gardevoir as well, being 10.4%, is still very, very powerful. I love Gardevoir, how powerful it is, how strong it's kind of like developed in this metagame. A lot of people thought it was dead due to likes of Iron Hands, but honestly, Gardevoir has absolutely shone in this metagame. And I'm really excited to see how it's going to change and evolve in post-rotation when it loses some of its strongest attackers. Then we've got some other sort of attackers here as well. Miraidon and Roy Moon about the same as well. They're these two big beat stick basic Pokemon with give up two prizes and can pretty much get these big one-hit kills turn after turn after turn. Miraidon is very, very powerful, going more on the Pioneer build like we talked about last week. Kind of did have a little bit of a fall off, especially with results, but definitely focused more on the top 16 sort of a bracket is where Miraidon sort of thrived. Although Roy Moon did incredibly well. Still, like I mentioned, the Paradox version is the most popular way to play it, but people are being creative. People are noticing that having the Moltres in Roy Moon is the best way to play it. Some are opting to still play that Darkrai, which did come second in Kyoto, but still I do think having that secondary attacking option, like even Iron Hands or having like Super Ninja, is very, very strong because of how good Sada is at setting up multiple attacking. Mew is still being strong. We're going on to its last weekend in legal in Japan, so it's really sad to see this really powerhouse of archetype disappear, but it's still showing that it's going to absolutely be here to stay and doing incredibly well. Gholdengo and is actually overtaking Shein Power. A lot of people didn't think this one, myself included. I thought Shein Power become much more stronger. It was at that 10% metagame, but now it's gone to that 3.4. It's going the likes of Lugia, where Lugia is pretty much fallen off completely in the metagame, whereas Gholdengo is kind of like coming shone stronger and stronger week after week after week. I think I got like 4 wins this weekend, which is really, really powerful, especially for this new archetype, which really got shown after Kyoto's top 4 placement. The reason why I really like this one because Palkia is a really good secondary attacking option. Doing 260 is pretty much really good for Gholdengo. It means you constantly don't need to have that energy turn after turn after turn. You can need to utilize the likes of Greninja or even Palkia to be very, very powerful archetype, and about 14% of the others sort of matchup wise. I think this is a really good metagame. It's showcasing what is powerful now, and it gives us an insight into us for where we're going to look into like Liverpool and Portland. Sorry, Portland's just gone, or other regionals are coming. I believe it's Charlotte for us in America. We can see that they're still favoring Charizard and Giratina as one of the strongest archetypes, and otherwise finishing off the top 6, we got Lost Box, Gardevoir, Miraidon, Roy Moon, and Mew. I think these are all very, very powerful archetypes, incredibly strong, and will constantly shine its turn after turn after turn, weeks after week. They're constantly putting in the effort, and I really am enjoying to see this one. And that can absolutely be shown in the results here. We can see here Giratina won 16 city leagues. That's incredible. We haven't seen that number in such a long time. I believe it was when Gardevoir was absolutely dominating last Easter time when it got like reversal energy and Iono. I'm obviously speechless about how powerful it has been, but you can see here that a lot of these decks are constantly doing incredibly well. Charizard as well doing very, very well, 9 wins, 11 second places, and also 40 top 8s. Roy Moon Lost Box is definitely showing that it's the strongest one with 6 wins. Gardevoir's doing really well with 5. Mew as well with 4, and even Stall has come back into form. Now we are playing the Pidgeot build over in Japan. They are mainly focusing on more of these like Stall 1, 4 of these, and just loads of other controlling archetypes. We even saw Blissey do really well. I know Blissey isn't a control sort of archetype as well, but it is focusing that way by doing a huge amount of damage and healing all of that up. I think Mew kind of like staying in that 5th position is kind of like very telling. We are seeing multiple different versions of Mew. They are still more favoring the fusion build, which I know a lot of people are kind of like umming and ahhing about, but DTE build with the likes of Luxray is still very powerful. Excelgor as well. So it's multiple ways still to play Mew, which is still doing incredibly well. I think it's a really good representation about how the meta is evolving. We can see here that pretty much the top 4 sort of up decks always been around there. I don't think they've once left it. I think like Roy Moon kind of like joined in. That's always constantly going up and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I'm really excited to see it's pretty much even out to be one of the best ways to play Lost Box right now, apart from obviously Giratina, because that is super strong in a best of 1 format. Just showing the case in this one here, this is a very much more common build of how we're seeing this one. We are seeing the likes of saying goodbye to Iono, but going to do 2 Rock Sands and 2 Boss's Orders. I really like the Forest Hill Stone as a really good inclusion in the deck. It's kind of become a good staple in this one. If you don't need the Star Requiem, why don't you get any card you might potentially need? It's still very, very powerful. They are opting to play with the 4-3 line of Giratina because a lot of people are opting to go for that Abyss Seeking, especially if they're going second. It's still very, very strong. All of a sudden you get to 7 and Lost Zone as early as turn 2. You're doing very, very well and absolutely dominating against your opponent. Still playing a counter catcher. Kind of this list here is one of us want to share. It's a bit interesting with a switching card out as well, having a lower count of Jet Energy, not that 4 of which we're used to seeing, but the rest of it is still very, very strong here. 3 Comfy, again, very, very greedy list. That must be why they're playing the 4-3 line of Giratina. So they're constantly using Abyss again. I just want to showcase you the different lists that Giratina is still doing well. It won, obviously, over there in Japan. In Japan for us in our previous regional. So it's really interesting that this deck is still doing incredibly well. Other archetypes, again, do very well with Gardevoir here. Not too many things to talk about. We're playing that Blue Escape. We're still playing Screamtail. No Drifloon in this one here, but they are still going with that 3-2 split of Gardevoir. Playing that 3 Shine Arcana one, it's just super, super strong. It's very good for that draw factor, especially in the early game, and also still constantly using attacking options. You're not utilizing your super rod in case you prize it. You can have multiple Gardevoirs turn after turn. I do love the Professor Churro. They're really respecting stall, but that's the only really way they're constantly going to be going around it. Churro plus Power Pad is still a really good sort of way to kind of like stop them from benching up their Manaphy's, your Manaphy's and your Greninjas. Roaring Moon as well, yes, a very, very powerful archetype. And this one here, I really, really like here. Instead of using the like of that Brute Barnet plus the Ancient Booster Capture Energy, they're playing the Vitality Band just to do that additional 10 damage, help you in the mirror match, so you're not kind of like sacrificing too many resources. You can instantly go 230 damage, discard a Stadium card in play. This isn't the list which is very aggressive, the likes of Pokestop, but by playing like the Potown, no, I always say Potown Store because that's the shop name, but Town Market, trying to really value those tool cards which you might need to have anytime you want to have. That star, gain that Forest Hill Stone to really help you. That attached to the Moltres with a really good secondary attacking option. Fortune has also seen a really good popularity rise as well. I really like this because it does play that 3 water energies. 3 water, it's exactly what you need because you can attack with Luminium, but also, really importantly, attack with that Greninja. Some people are expecting this one. I think the 2 energies are very, very greedy. It's like you're kind of like showcasing that you kind of get it, but what happens if one's prized? What happens if we can't get one out? I really like having that 3, giving you that flexibility. And the rest of it as well is still very, very straightforward about how it's seen. It's very fast, very aggressive, very turbo. The Morpeko is a really good single price attacking option, especially in likes of Lost Box, and in general, giving that a free retreat pivot option, plus with Mew. Lost Zone, the Paradox box is still very strong. One of the good cards which we are getting in the next set, which is Paldean Fates, which is in a couple weeks' time, is that new TM, which does 280 damage to any of your opponent's active Pokemon if they have 1 prize card remaining. This can be really good because yes, you can attach to Roaring Moon and attack with that, but you can attach it to a Cramorant and attack for free. So we've seen this in the likes of Sablezard, especially these builds so well here. Because Charizard, you can attach to that one and attack for free as well because of its ability still works. I think this is a very, very strong, very, very aggressive archetype, especially with the likes of the higher counts of Super Ross. You constantly use their attacking options and can reuse them with the likes of Mirage Gate. Very, very powerful archetype, which is still doing very strong and potentially will carry on its success in post-rotation. Xian Pao actually did get a win this weekend, which was really exciting to see, but they aren't playing the likes of Iron Hands. We saw about the best one, Jared Grimes, who has been a huge Xian Pao stan, which I've been really following, absolutely loving his content about Xian Pao. We're seeing that he didn't actually use Iron Hands at all and did really, really well without it, going back to the bulk standard one with Bibarel. This one here is playing the Palkia, which I personally think is much stronger here. They are playing the likes more of heavy supporter counting options as well. They are even playing the Clara, which I really like. It's basically a way to get some of your Pokemon back, as well also with Energy Retrieval in one. Very, very powerful. I like the Palkia. It's an Energy Accelerator. If you don't get your and Excalibur out there, they're playing the 3-3 line, which is very, very thick, kind of like aggressively thick, but I honestly think it's still really good sort of counts overall. I love this one. I think I'm really excited to see how Xian Pao is going to develop in the new sort of metagame as well, because it doesn't lose that many things. If we look here, it only really uses battle VIP pass, but you can get battle VIP pass replaced with that pop and tasting one. Clara disappears, but that's okay. There are so many cards well which Xian Pao can really thrive, I believe, in this new format as well. And this generally could be the way around it, not going the techie ways of Iron Hands, but having the likes of Palkia and the likes of higher counts of Bibarel and Excalibur, which really helps your consistency. Lugia, like I mentioned before, it did win. I know it's a colorless build here, and it wasn't anything funny business. No likes of Iron Hands or Basic Energy. This was a straightforward, the Weird, the Mew, the Snorlax, and it's attacking that way here. It did very, very well. I love a Devolution TM to be included in Lugia, because you might fall down behind. Charizard becomes very aggressively. If they have like 2 Charizard and 2 Pidgeot sort of set up, if you just hit them with a Devolution TM, they might have to look for their Charmeleons or only get 1 set up. They might not even play a Pidgeotto to get their Pidgeot set up. I love this one, especially in Charizard, to really help you in that matchup. Gardevoir as well, yes, it can help you in that one if they spread loads of their energies around them to do some retreating option. You can really punish them that way as well. I love the likes of Adon's Pass, really make sure you're not really getting punished from the likes of Iron Hands. Very, very nice of archive as well. It's good to see some love for Lugia. I don't think it is a really strong pick, especially with how powerful Miraidon is, how powerful Iron Hands is as well, and so many other archives. It's not Lugia's time to shine, which is crazy to think that like nearly this time last year, it was a dominating force and nearly about to win its second EOIC. Obviously, it came second overall, but it's just very, very powerful. Look at how it's fallen down. Zorobox as well, a name we haven't heard in such a long time, did in fact win as well. Didn't really have a ton of really cool subcards. We're still having Sizzle as another attacking option because it's better than Flapple because it does 10 more damage, and 10 more damage is still very, very powerful. The Curlier engine without Gallet to get any of the card you might have. Cleffer is a really good sort of attacking option, especially if it goes second to get 7 more cards. And rest of the cards as well, like Mobossive, we have the Lantern to do more damage, a Cleaveboard to do more damage, the Sample. There is so many good cards around this deck which should work, but it just hasn't really translated over to us as well. A lot of people want Zorobox to work around because it has so many things going with it. These amazing and reversal energies, amazing stage 1 attacking options, but honestly, it just hasn't had that time to shine. To believe ever since Liverpool when Zoro Control got in there, well, nearly 2 years ago. So I'm very, very excited to see this deck do well. It's last hurrah before it does rotate out to us. But honestly, I'm very happy with it. It's done incredibly well in this format, and it's good it's finally got some more recognition. Another one is this Fighting Millsaw cards here, the Batscott. If you have seen it on Wishcash, you've probably seen this deck kind of like going around here. And I love this one. Sandy Shocks as well, because a lot of people are preparing, myself included, to buy some Sandy Shocks because of the likes of Raging Ball, how powerful that card could really do. But having Sandy Shocks in this one with Arcanine is really, really powerful. Arcanine is a really good attacking option, which does 90 plus 30 for each fighting energy attached to it. On Channeling Shocks can attach more energies attached to it when your opponent's taking 2 prize cards when they have 4 or less. So, and then Wishcast as well is really good to get that mill factor, the amount of them fighting energies attached to it. Pretty much you can just power up a giant Arcanine, have it move all your energies to it one, then all of a sudden you can go Fortin, go into Wishcast and do a huge amount of damage that way by discarding multiple cards from your opponent's sort of deck. Very, very powerful as well. We've seen these likes of decks kind of do well. Getting that top 4 placement is really exciting. I really like to see it one. And having that misfortune system for the discarding, we have the energy, which the retreat cost is higher at 1. Still playing that Devolution TM, which I think is arguably the best TM we've had. A lot of people think it could be the Energized one or the Evolved one, but the TM one, the Devolution one, is definitely seen the most play. Really, really fun deck. I know people have played this online, and it's really good to see that people are trying this out in the City League Championships. And the last couple of decks here, we want to look at this Golden Go top 4. Yeah, like I mentioned before, a lot of Golden Goes did win, but some of them were very, very similar to the ones that did very well over in Kyoto. But this one here really picked my eye. Having that Spiritomb as well, and a very, very thin line of being likes of the Palkia and the Golden Go, I really, really enjoy. Going with that 5 copies of the Ascension, the Call for Family Gimmickle. Very interesting because a lot of people do play that 2-2 split. 70 HP is still much better than 50, especially with the likes of Iron Hands and more specifically the likes of Repastrating Inteleon, as well as also the likes of Iron Valiant. Having that 50 HP comes very, very vulnerable, but all that being said, you do have Greninja to really help you try to gain over extra 2 cards as well with the likes of your Palkias and that cross switches plus cancelling closely. You've got that little combo piece as well. You have the worker for the discarding the path to peak. You have the Avery discard your opponent's bench Pokemon. It's a very fun deck here, which I generally think could do well. We've seen it have success for us, especially after it did really, really well in Kyoto. I'm really excited to see where this deck is kind of like going with it. And the final sort of card we've got to look at is this Blissey deck here. We haven't seen Blissey have any success in a very long time, which I believe it came second place like nearly a year ago at regionals as well. This is very, very powerful. Its ability, its attack, do chuck a ton of energies onto this one. Penny to pick it up, put it back down, attach loads of energies from discard pile, path to peak, being really aggressive as well. Marwell to stall so your opponent's active Pokemon, and Mimikyu so you're not even getting any damage into it one, and Greninja to really fuel like the attack as well. It's very, very powerful, very aggressive. Crushing Hammer, Penny, Arvin, even the Giovanni's one. There are so many really fun destructive cards as well, and such a unique archetype to get second place. When I saw this one, I immediately want to talk about this one, put it on people's radar. Like, Blissey isn't a dead archetype. I know it, I believe it may rotate for us in a couple of weeks' time for Japan, so it's nice to see that this card is having a little bit more love before it kind of disappears, or it does carry on. I generally have forgotten this card when it actually was released, but it's fun to see that it actually have some success. So looking ahead here, could paradox decks generally be a thing? We've seen obviously the likes of the, I've been talking a lot with my friends about the ancient Pokemon, especially with the likes of Raging Bull and the likes of Koraidon and Roaring Moon. So many things that could potentially, and Sandy Shops could potentially work as different archetypes. But we're seeing future Pokemon really seeing that Pokemon map out. We still have over 100 cards got revealed, which we're going to talk about next week when we get the full set release breakdown. Can anything beat Lost Zone Tina? It's doing incredibly well, an absolute powerhouse of a deck. Doing incredibly well that Lost Impact. I don't think it doesn't lose that many cards going into Paradox Rift. Only ways to trying to get the your Giratina out, but you're probably up the count of Nestball. And what will the new set bring? Obviously, future and ancient decks around there, but so many new cards as well, which are really going to help post rotation. That's why I'm really excited about how this archetype is going to evolve, how the format is going to evolve as well. Because Temple Forces, again, having an EUIC, it's going to be incredibly powerful. And in 2 weeks in Japan, which I'm so excited to talk about, because then I would be doing videos on the channel for 1 whole year, which I'm absolutely so happy and so grateful for every single one of you. So thank you so much for watching this video and taking time to really learn about exactly how the metagame is still evolving there in Japan in the final few weeks before they hit post rotation. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below what deck are you the most excited about going into the format. For me, I'm actually going towards future Pokemon. I think they're incredibly powerful right now, especially with the likes of Miraidon and that Ace Spec as well. Got my gears sort of like turning as well to see exactly how I can build these archetypes. So hope you enjoyed the video and I will see you guys later. Bye for now.